on the Blockbuster Busters Halloween Havoc.
Oh, ERod, you're in for a treat, cause next week you will take on a double feature, courtesy of Mr. Bay.
Voorhees. Kruger.
Damn you, Bay. First you bastardized a classic cartoon from the 80s, and now you go after the two biggest horror franchises from the era? Time's up. Bay must pay. Oh boy.
In a world of uncertainty, where movie theaters are plagued by remakes and sequels, in a world where big budget movies can still suck, in this world we have the Blockbuster Buster.
Evil E? I thought I vanished you to the null void. Oh no, I'm you. But how is this possible? Well, you see, our fans and the Crypt Keeper have asked us to review a couple of movies that are technically not that bad. But Bay! Michael Bay didn't direct these, he produced them, so technically if they suck, it's not his fault. The point is, you have found yourself divided. The irate, angry fanboy internet critic, and the laid-back film connoisseur. Ugh, fucking Bay. Alright, what do you suggest we do? Let's analyze these movies together. I'll play the good cop and you'll play the bad cop, and we'll really break down in what ways they live up to the originals and what ways they don't. That way, we'll please both the Legion and Crypty, and we won't make ourselves look like a biased asshole. Alright, I'm game. So, where do we begin? At the beginning. How about you do that cool thing you do where you introduce yourselves and give us a little info on the background of these movies? Huh, okay. Greetings, maniacs and marauders, I'm ERod and I'm the Blockbuster Buster. While John Carpenter may have laid the foundation for the slasher genre with his horror classic Halloween, it was the Friday the 13th series that caught the ball and took off running, creating one of the most successful franchises to date and one of the most famous slashers in the world, Jason Voorhees. However, this also caused the genre to plateau, and it seemed like every other horror movie that came out during that era was about a silent slasher in a mask killing a bunch of dumb teenagers. This will change with Wes Craven's A Nightmare on Elm Street. Not only did the killer speak, but he hunted his victims in their dreams, where there is no escape. The Nightmare series elevated dream killer Freddy Krueger to iconic status, and ever since, his and Jason's fate have been strangely intertwined, recently culminating with both franchises getting a remake, just a year apart from one another. And now, to talk about the parallels and the drawbacks of these two movies, here's Eric. Hi, I'm Eric, and I just like movies. Anyway, both these movies share similar structures in their openings. Both of them start with ambiguous tidbits on the villain's origins, followed by both slashers going after their first victims. And then finally they show you the title card. In Nightmare, it only takes them 9 minutes to get to the title card, while in Friday, it takes them 23 minutes. Which is pretty damn excessive, especially considering that this is very close to the length of one act from your average movie. Now, let's talk about the origins that we get to see in these openings. One good aspect about the Nightmare remake is how they flesh out Freddy's backstory, as opposed to having just one character tell you about it in one scene. Which is definitely not a courtesy that we get from the Friday remake, as they condense the events of the original Friday the 13th into the first 2 minutes of this movie. What made the original so awesome and terrifying is how you didn't know who the killer was. That's right, Jason was not in the original Friday the 13th, so the killer literally could be anyone. But in this movie, they give away the identity of the original killer within the first 2 minutes. So if you haven't seen the original, please see it first before you see the remake. And the condensing of the movies doesn't end with that. The first 3 Friday the 13th movies are crammed into the first 42 minutes of this movie. It's like they wanted to get Jason in the movie and into that hockey mask as quickly as possible. But they did finally explain how Jason gets around so fast. Yup, the Jason Cave. Apparently Jason has this network of intricate tunnels running under Crystal Lake, and that's how he gets around so fast. But that still doesn't explain how he got super strength, super speed, and near invulnerability. Oh, he got those abilities from the woodland creatures that raised him. Alright, let's move on to... Wait, there's one more parallel. What? The Friday remake stars Ryan Hansen, all the while the Nightmare remake stars Kyle Gallner. So they were both on Veronica Mars. They played Dick and Beaver Casablancas. You know, they were brothers and... never mind. You really do have apophenia, don't you? Alright, let's move on to the villains. In this case, I will have to sympathize with ERod, because the new actors don't live up to the originals. While I respect Jackie Earle Haley, he is no Freddy Krueger. And I'm not saying that he has to be a carbon copy of Robert Englund. I'm saying that he is missing a very important part of the Freddy equation. He is not scary! Heath Ledger as the Joker was scarier than this!
Look at me. Look at me! Turn away. Look at me!
See? Not scary. It really comes down to this. The most frightening thing about Freddy is how he took such delightful glee in the horrible things that he would do. All the while, Jackie just comes off indifferent.
Did you know that after the heart stops beating, the brain keeps functioning for well over 7 minutes? We got 6 more minutes to play.
And why the hell is he dragging his leg? Is his foot asleep? Now, while Derek Mears may be a badass, his Jason has no personality. He's just a generic killer in a mask. Now, is it just me or does he look way more badass without the mask and the makeup? Agreed. Both Kane Hodder and Ken Kersinger put a great deal of personality into their performances as Jason. Kane gave Jason a swagger and a brutality streak that was unmistakable, while Ken played a more sympathetic Jason, whose sadness and pain you could see in his one exposed eye. Now it really seems like they went out of their way to make the supporting cast of the Friday remake either really generic or just completely unlikable. It's almost like you want them to die.
Oh! Now what does that say about me? That the second that Trent said, "Don't take my boat out," it was guaranteed that I would.
It means you're a sociopath. Now what does it say about me that I find that hot?
That you're a bimbo with very low standards. But the Nightmare remake supporting cast was awesome, especially with seasoned veterans among them like Clancy Brown. But the crown of awesomeness has to go to Ronnie Mara as Nancy. Yeah, I like her too. Sorry, Heather Langenkamp. I still love you.
Something he'd made himself. They made a horrible sound. Scream.
In spite of your clumsy delivery. Ronnie is a great leading lady, portraying Nancy as a socially awkward, emotionally unavailable emo kid who is not keen on overreacting. So when she suddenly gets scared of Freddy killing her, it really resonates. Alright, what's next? The effects. They copied way too many effects from the original Nightmare movie. Yeah, but they're really well done. Except for the wall gag, that looked like shit. Just look at the original, now that looks awesome. Agreed, but you have to appreciate how in both movies they used a lot of practical effects. And in the Friday remake, the few times they used CGI, it was hardly noticeable. So, you want to talk about the final fights? Sure. Now, a lot of people complain about how in the end of the original Nightmare, Nancy goes home alone and Freddy. Yes, it's silly by today's standards. But keep in mind that the original Nightmare on Elm Street came out 6 years before Home Alone, so it's Home Alone that's copying it. The Nightmare remake, on the other hand, took a more serious approach to the story, and the final battle is no different. But both the final battle in this movie and the Friday remake are pretty damn solid. Not to mention that the Friday remake finally answers the question of what would happen if 2 virgins survived at the end of the movie. It's almost like a self-repairing paradox, which only leaves the final frights. The final fright in the Friday the 13th remake sucks and completely besmirches what the original movie did. So please, I know I sound like a broken record, but please watch the original before you watch the remake. The final fright in the Nightmare remake kicks ass, and I wouldn't dare show it here because I don't want to spoil it. Man, this was a lot of fun. Do you want to deliver some final thoughts? Sure. The difference between these two movies is quality over quantity. In the Nightmare remake, Freddy takes his sweet time while stalking each victim. Hell, he only kills 5 people in this movie. The Friday remake, however, is nothing but excess. Jason kills 13 people, and apparently there's an unwritten rule that if you see boobies, even if they're in a magazine, you die. Hell, even Michael Bay admitted that the movie was too gratuitous, so at the end of the day, it's just a matter of preference. Now, while I might agree that these are two very well-made films, they are still completely unnecessary remakes to movies that were already great to begin with, so I'm gonna have to bust them. You do what you gotta do, Haas. Still, it was a lot of fun. We should really do this again sometime. One born of water, one born of fire. And yet they're going to the same place. Did that really happen? Did I really just bust these two movies? Weird. Wait. That smell. It smells like vampires, but not really. Oh, I'm ready for your stupid asses this year.
Coming this Christmas to a theater near you, the most horrifying film to hit the screen. There's a homicidal maniac who finds a Cub Scout troop, and he hacks up 2 or 3 in every scene. Nature Trail to Hell! Nature Trail to Hell in 3D! Nature Trail.
Check out my website, suckers!
Nature Trail to Hell!
This knife is completely dull. If you're gonna use a prop, make sure that it's safe.